Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at the third balance manifesto, this time targeting the Eldritch altars. So the first part was about the jewels and ailment mitigation. The second one was about monster modifiers and the arch nemesis monsters. And this time around it's the Eldritch altars. And first of all, I do really like this kind of system that GGG kind of has right now with giving us the patch notes early on, giving us smaller parts of the balance manifesto to then, or at least so we can go over that in smaller portions, give feedback, and then we might see some further adjustments before the league launches, instead of like we used to have it, like, I don't know, get patch notes and everything on like Wednesday, like 2 days before league start, and then it's kind of like quite a book of like all the changes all at once, and then there is like no time left, in my opinion. So I think this is great. So GGG employees, if you're watching, keep it up. Good. Let's take a look at the Eldritch altars. So basically, I think most people that are playing the game should be aware of that. It's like it's not a league mechanic, but it feels like a league mechanic. That got introduced with the introduction of the Pinnacle bosses, the big expansion with the Searing Exarch and the Eater of Worlds, and basically rewards players for farming higher tier content, because you need to like kill those Pinnacle bosses, you get like your Void Stones and stuff, and then by running T14 plus maps, you unlock these altars that you can then farm for. Like it's like one of the best farming strategies, and I think this is great just because we had very like many leagues where it was the most rewarding thing to farm low tier maps. I remember back like Legion League, for example, it was way more profitable to just spam tier 2 glacier maps, for example, to just abuse the league mechanic to gain massive amounts of currency, instead of having actually a well-rounded character that could do the same thing on like a tier 15 or tier 16 map, for example. Right? So to counter that a little bit, we have more currency making opportunities if we're able to have characters or build characters that can do that. So let's take a look at what they have for us in 320. In Forbidden Sanctum expansion, we're making a number of changes to Eldritch altars, specifically to their rewards and monster packs they spawn, and the incentives for rushing to map bosses before completing the rest of the map. In addition, we're adding a chance for Maven witnessed map bosses to drop Awakened Gems. Okay. Inclusive of the Awakened Gems that are typically exclusive to Maven herself. The overarching aim of these changes is to try to reach a point where the choice between running Maven Witnessed maps and Eldritch Influenced maps is closer in value, while still retaining the gameplay feeling you've come to expect from Eldritch altars. So this is a thing that I noticed as well in the past. You know, when you open your atlas, basically, right, you have like on the left side, I think it's Searing Exarch, in the middle is Maven for witnessing bosses to do the what is it, the invitations and stuff, right? And on the right side there's Searing Exarch. But as far as I can remember, I never do invitations. Like, I always have either Searing Exarch or the Eater of Worlds, mostly Searing Exarch just because I like this like fire theme more. But Maven is like, in my opinion, getting kind of irrelevant, you know, because the most important thing here, the Eldritch altars drop the Eldritch currency, which then I can use that for crafting to get implicits on certain items, while Maven has, let's say, support gems, basically, right, or Awakened gems, which are insane, and every endgame build wants to have an Awakened gem, basically, or more, or all the Awakened gems if possible. But the issue is, if I buy an Awakened Unbound Ailment, for example, right, I need this one single time. So the market is like full of those, and you always see the price range. Early on, the Awakened gems are more expensive, but they drop fast, and then they just stay on a really big low. And most of the time, Awakened gems are even cheaper than any, I don't know, 21 corrupted alternate quality gem or something like that, right? So you really get them super easy, and yeah, it just devalues Awakened Gems even more, in my opinion. Because, on the other hand, the Eldritch altars, the Eldritch implicits, you don't need like one to hit the specific mod that you want to have, like ailment spread or something on your gloves. You always need to spam them as a... You just consume the stuff that you farm, so people are always farming them to fill the market with those Eldritch Embers and Ichors and stuff. And as I said, Awakened Gems, you buy one and you have it, you know, and then you resell it, basically. TLDR, I don't want to go over that because I want to go through the entire thing. So let's take a look at the altar rewards. Eldritch altars are currently too rewarding, so much so that they create disincentive for any out-of-map gameplay unless it's comparably rewarding. We've lightly nerfed their total rewards and updated them in various other ways that we'll outline below. While it is fair to say that you can no longer min-max into rewards in such an extreme way, they will still be quite rewarding. So yeah, this is something I can basically, sign, because in the end of the day, league mechanics, if they're outside of a map, you need to like compare. How much currency can I make if I just run my maps and use like altars and maybe a legion farming strat or blight farming strat in comparison to the league mechanic? Because as long as the league mechanic is outside of a map, like we had with the Lake of Kalandra, you build them in your map, but the map itself didn't have anything to do with the lake, right? Besides like building your tablet. So it means if the Lake of Kalandra is unrewarding, like we had it, then there is no point of playing the league mechanic if I could just make more currency by just continuously mapping with like altar farming, right? So I definitely see that. So either there's always like either you buff something or you nerf the other thing, so they get you get a certain balance, right? We have removed some reward types from the choices available at altars, such as duplicate gems, influenced items, unique items, gems, and maps. This means that the other reward types will take their place and naturally be more common, which is quite nice because there is a lot of like currency and stuff like that to be gained. So I guess that's better for drops. Altars no longer offer a choice for basic currency. Well, that escalated quickly, but instead offer choices for specific currency. For example, instead of seeing altars that say map boss drops 3 basic currency items, you now see that it says like map boss drops 3 Val orbs. Currency rewards from influenced minions no longer drop in stacks larger than 1. This is actually kind of like a big nerf in my opinion, because basic currency item includes everything up to like a Mirror of Kalandra. I think this is also like basic currency, right? Chaos orbs, alchemy orbs, whatever. Also exalts and divine orbs, which is like good, right? So the question is like how many of these modifiers are there? And because if I get like, yo, map boss drop 3 Val orbs, I'm like, whatever, I'm probably gonna take the other options, right? But if it says, yo, map boss drops a divine orb, then oh boy, I count me in, right? So I hope that we have like a nice we say obviously rarer based on the rarity of the basic currency, but I hope there are like options to get like divine orbs, so you want to do the map boss basically, right? Or you're looking forward to it. Some of the more common but very low value rewards, such as Orb of Augmentations, Orb of Transmutations, Blacksmith Whetstones, Armor Scraps, etc., no longer be offered as part of basic currency reward. This is totally fine because you take these like at league start maybe, and they're so cheap. I don't know, for a chaos you get like 500 augmentations, or I don't know, man. This is like so much crazy basic currency that you probably just need them early on in league, like day 1, 2, and then all of a sudden you have so many on your stash that you never have to worry about buying those, right? Similarly, instead of offering choices for scarabs or divination cards as a category, they're now more specific. For example, rather than simply divination cards, you'll now see like divination cards with reward unique jewelry. That is okay, I assume. These specific currency, scarabs, and divination cards rewards will be split, so they are exclusive to one altar type. This means that if you're targeting a specific reward type, you're able to figure out which influence type invest to in order to farm that reward. So that probably means that, hey, if you farm Searing Exarch, you're gonna get rewarded more with scarabs. And if you are more, if you want to farm div cards, then you just go Eater of Worlds, for example, right? So I guess this is fine. So we actually have like, because as of right now, I'm not like the biggest altar farmer, right? And I'm pretty sure the majority of people are not like have studied altar farming, right? Like Grimbro or somebody else. But at the end of the day, I personally always pick like, I don't like the blue side just because of these like projectile monsters, and I hate the red side for having these meteors, right? But if I don't click on a meteor, I'd rather enjoy the right side, the red side more, just based on the monster type, because there's more melee oriented creatures or monsters, while on the blue side you have like the Eater of World side, you have like more range projectile kind of thingy, and I think they are like worse or harder in my opinion. So I don't really pick my my altar side based on what rewards I could get, right? And I think this is not gonna make any differences. Because in the end of the day, if you get like one big divination card that is worth like thousands of scarabs, you know, or you want to have like more the base sustain with scarabs and stuff. I mean, it's up to you, I guess. The rewards that still remain are currency, scarabs, divination card, duplicate, currency, unique scarabs, maps, divination cards, and quantity rarity. To give us a specific example, if you run maps influenced by the Eater of Worlds, you see divine orbs from the basic currency reward more than twice as often as before. Yeah, that kind of makes sense because they still offer you a certain fixed amount of currency, but if they remove basic currency types like transmutes, blacksmith, and so on, you would technically, percentage-wise, see more divine orbs, but you know, like 0.1% drop chance, and now it's like 0.15 drop chance. It's still like, you know, if the drop chance is shit and you double it, it's a little bit less shit, but it's still shit, right? Same as like if they would make a line like, the drop chance of Mirror of Kalandra is now doubled, you know, and everybody's like, oh my god, I'm gonna find my first mirror. But despite the fact that it's like 0.00001% drop chance of getting a Mirror of Kalandra, and now 0.00002%, you know, it's whatever, I think. So we're gonna see about that. On the whole, scarabs will be offered a lot less before from altars. However, we don't want to them to be scarce in general. As such, we're adding rusted scarabs to be into the core drop pool. Oh, that is interesting. And we're also adding a vendor recipe that can be used to upgrade scarabs between tiers using the usual 3-to-1 ratio up to gilded scarabs. We're adding an upgrade button in the fragment stash tab that upgrade your scarabs in this way, similar to the upgrade function of the essence tab. Finally, I would say. I'm just wondering why this vendor recipe for scarabs was not in the game like way earlier, right? It's always depending on how good is the drop chance, because just because it's in a core drop pool doesn't mean it's like it drops like candy. It just depends, but I think like up to gilded scarabs, so I guess gilded scarabs are like easier accessible overall for everybody, I would assume. Same with like the essence, like who cares about the low tier essences? You always like upgrade until like deafening or screaming, and then sell those in bulk, right? And it's gonna be the same with the scarabs, but I'm just wondering why this wasn't a thing before. But in the end of the day, finally we have that. Boss rushing, and by the way, I'm still waiting for an incubator stash tab. That would be nice. Boss rushing. Players currently have an incentive to skip past all regular map monsters and kill the map boss first. The motivation for doing so is that altars which offer rewards affecting the map boss are less desirable. By killing the boss first, you eliminate these options from your map altars, which makes them more rewarding. Which is basically the go-through method anyways for farming altars, because there is like 3 different types of altars. One is like bosses, or one affects the boss, one affects the monsters, and one is like global or debuffs the player or something. There are 3 different ones. So if you kill a map boss, you only get offered the other 2, and they are usually better than the boss reward, right? So that's why people pick maps, kill the boss, and then play the altars afterwards. I personally don't like that kind of mapping style, because I want to just go in, clear the map, and kill the end boss, and then pour it out, basically, you know? It's one of these cases where the most efficient and rewarding gameplay strategy undermines the expected gameplay loop and encourages players to do things that aren't really fun. Who decides what is fun for me, and who decides what fun is for you in specific? I think as a game developer, it's always like risky to say like, yo boys, we're not gonna do that because it's not fun. It's not fun for who? I like it, so who did you ask to make that statement, right? We're making a few numerical changes to alter rewards so that choices that affect the boss drops or influence monster drops are more comparable, valuable, though boss drops rewards will be slightly better on average than Eldritch minion rewards. Yeah, I mean, obviously, because there is only one map boss, and if you can have the chance to spawn like 25 different altars, you have to think about all the monsters that you kill compared to one single boss. So obviously the one single boss has to drop more, and not like, you know, you're still gonna kill a lot more like Eldritch minions. So you would need to compare an entire map worth of Eldritch stuff in comparison to the boss reward. Altar monster packs. The amount of influenced packs spawned by Eldritch influenced maps has been reduced by around a third, but the chance of influenced altar spawning has been increased by about half to somewhat offset this. We're making this change to add some more variance to altar gameplay. Previously, Eldritch influenced maps would always spawn exactly 60 packs within a map, Didn't even know that. They will now spawn somewhere between 20 and 60 packs per map. It's a large enough variance that the difference should be notable. It should also encourage more decision making around altars. For example, if you intuit that it may be a 20 pack map, you might be more inclined to pick more map boss modifiers, as there won't be as many influenced monsters in the map to get other rewards from. While we were working on this, we took the opportunity to change the pack spawning behavior from influence so that the given area will only have the 3 different types of monster packs. Previously, there were 8 pack types that could be spawned per influence type, and it randomly chooses which pack of type it spawned. This is a relatively small change that won't have a significant effect during gameplay. The goal was simply to give some identity to an area which and give you a slight better idea what to expect during gameplay. So I have a problem with these altars. And the main problem is not how many monsters it spawns or what rewards I get. I'm just a lazy player. I don't want to think too much. I want to open my map. I want to kill all the bosses or monsters. And in the best case scenario, I want to spawn as many monsters as possible. So I'm just randomly clicking on the altars. And if I do that, I would just assume that the majority of player base is doing that. The only thing I hate, because since I'm farming Searing Exile all the time, the red one, there is one where it spawns or it drops a meteor on you when you use a flask, or a chance when you use a flask to drop a meteor. And this thing does so much damage, and for me, clicking on the meteor thing makes me actually want to leave the map or just, you know, waste experience, because this thing is just, you know, you kill monsters, the meteor spawns, you move out of it, but hey, they're dropped an orb of alchemy or a chaos orb, you go back, pick up, and instantly get one-shot by a stupid meteor, right? I just hate it. And the thing that I see here is just like, oh, now we have less monsters per altar, but therefore more altars overall. So instead of like 3 or 4 altars, you now have like 8 or something, right? I just don't want to sit here and read through the entire altar thing. You know, this is something I just don't like at all. Basically, as far as I know, I think the meteor were like monster or global, you know, from the 3 different types of altars. I think it was the global modifier, right? So I knew, hey, if meteor is on a global pack, then I'm always gonna pick the monster affecting or the boss reward, either which is available, right? And I just don't care about the global thing just because I don't want to read it. I want to click on it, spawn monsters, and don't worry about getting one-shot by a meteor, right? This is the way I play, and I assume a lot of people do the same. You know, if there's one mod that is like way worse than anything else. Like, I don't care if monsters have 100% physics extra fire, but I do care about the stupid meteors, right? So just, instead of reading it, I just make it fast and simple. I just don't pick any global modifiers and keep up my pace. And the more altars, the more reading, the more whatever, you know? So I'm not so sure about that with, like, having too many altars and wasting too much time of trying to figure out what is the best outcome. Because if you need twice as long for a map to pick, to read through all the altar modifiers, you could run 2 maps without bothering reading, and you're probably going to make more profit, because it's always about effectiveness, like how fast you can run maps and stuff. And if you constantly run into things that slow you down because you have to read, or betrayal, for example, you know, you have to interact with the NPCs and make your board and stuff, it's all a time consumment, right? Or a time investment. And if you don't care about that and you can run more maps in the same amount of time, then you can like say like, okay, what is profitable more? Is it actually reading the altars, or is it just like run 2 maps instead of 1, right? And I think in the end of the day, I think probably 2 maps is even better. Or you just play the style that I do, just click whatever and just don't worry about, we are softcore, we have 6 portals, right? Wrath of the Cosmos. The Wrath of the Cosmos Keystone encouraged players to risk a level of danger that was outside their capability because of how valuable its rewards were. In some cases, it's made more sense to die a few times per map than forgo the level of rewards this Keystone offered. This is not ideal, to say the least. Yeah, I mean, Wrath of the Cosmos, let me actually check this real quick. What is it? Atlas, passive, skill tree, PoE. Let's put this up here. Wrath of the Cosmos, I think there was this. Yeah, Wrath of the Cosmos, here it is. Eldritch currency items found have 25 chance to be duplicated for Eldritch altars and used in areas increased damage. So you gain more rewards, but you take more damage. Yeah, so basically, hey, if the monsters sucked before, they suck even more now. But we are, you know, Fast One Death Portal, best tooling setup. I always recommend that in softcore, but hey, we have 6 portals, so we're gonna use them, right? As long as the rewards are paying off. We have reassigned this keystone. It now only affects altars in maps influenced by the Searing Exarch. Okay. Each altar now has 50% chance for additional upside. Altars with a little upside have their downside effect increased by 100%. This overall risk versus reward nature of this keystone is still in place. It's just a lot less intense now. The Eldritch Gaze, which is the other one on the blue side here, have an additional downside and 50 increased. That's basically mirrored. Almost. They just increase the effect of upsides by 50%, but it has an additional downside, and the other one is just have a 50% chance for additional and 100% increased effect. Yeah, it's basically mirrored, more or less. Now only affects altars influenced by Eater of Worlds. The main reason for this is that we want you to invest Atlas passives into the influence type that you're currently farming. It feels wrong to get the passives from the opposite influence cluster in order to maximize the rewards get from the influence type that you're currently farming. The small passives near the keys, these keys are already specific to influence types, and it's nice to tidy up, keep things consistent in this way. Wait a second, weren't these like global things? Monster packs influenced by Eater of Worlds. I think they changed it. I'm pretty sure there was like overall influenced pack size. So you always had like left and right side together. In my opinion, it's totally fine. I know that people might be already screaming like, oh my god, I cannot like use Eldritch Gaze in combination with Wrath of the Cosmos to make my altars insane and profitable. Yes, I do get that. Yes, this is definitely a nerf. But on the other side, you know, do I go in the middle and farm like Maven stuff and Invitation? Do I go left side and farm Searing Exarch? Or do I go right side and farm Eater of Worlds? You know, I don't really want to be like, okay, I'm farming Eater of Worlds. I've spec'd into everything that is Eater of Worlds, Searing Exarch related. But in order to make this even more profitable, I also need to reach out to the right side and get all the Eater of Worlds stuff to benefit my Searing Exarch farming, right? Sounds complicated, but I like when it's split that I can definitely choose. And then it makes more sense if I say, hey, I'm going to farm Legion, so I'm taking all the Legion nodes, right? There is Legion here, there's Legion there, there's Legion somewhere in the bottom side here, right? I think down here. So if my entire passive tree is based around Legion and I am already on the right side, I would be more tempted to go with the Eater of Worlds farming routine just because I have all the stuff on the right side as well. And left side would be more like a Delirium, maybe Beyond kind of farming strategy with Searing Exarch in combination. So I would spend less points overall to reach out to both sides and try to get the best out of both worlds. So in the end of the day, it probably allows you to pick more specific Atlas passive things, right? Just to explicitly call a spade to spade, this is a nerf on how much you can scale your rewards from these keystones if you were one of the subset of players who were taking both of keystones in the past. I mean, this is just like a generic, how strong is your character? You start out with your normal passive tree, then at some point you're going to activate the Searing Exarch or the Eater of Worlds. If your character gets stronger, you get Eldritch Gaze, and you get even better, you take Wrath of the Cosmos as well to make the altars as the most profitable. But at this stage, your character is already powerful enough and maybe a custom death portal setup to just farm or get the most out of the altars, basically. Right? Conclusion, altar rewards are a bit more sensible now through clearer reward types and by toning down the extreme levels of giftedness. We've worked towards making it so that players don't feel compelled to rush straight map bosses in order to maximize their rewards. We've also updated the Wrath of the Cosmos keystone to be less brutal and a bit less rewarding. The intent wasn't to gut these systems, just slightly reduce their overall potency. They should still be a valuable source of rewards. In case you missed them, we recently posted a manifesto, blah, blah, blah. We'll post the Curse Manifesto next, which is expected out. Yeah, this is like the next thing. We talk about the Curse Manifesto as soon as it's out. But yeah, overall, what is my opinion now after reading through the Balance Manifesto Eldritch Altars? I know already that probably 90% of people reading that be like, oh my god, this is a nerf. Oh my god, less currency. Oh my god, what is going on, right? I see it differently because if there is, I said it the same with like the loot thingy that happened last week, right? It's not, obviously it sucks because more loot, more fun, right? I would assume so. But in the end of the day, if I drop less loot, then everybody else also drops less loot. So it balances out overall, okay? This is something people are not allowed to forget. Because some people act like that it's less loot specific to you or your account, while everybody else gets the same amount of currency that they had that they used before, right? So this is like just a stupid way of thinking. And if altars get nerfed, yes, it sucks, but it sucks for everybody, so it balances out. And the way I see the positive thing, if they nerf that, we are maybe more towards playing with a league mechanic that we should do anyways, because hey, new league mechanic, so we want to play it, right? And if it's not rewarding, then you would probably skip it, and then you're more likely to skip the league entirely just because, hey, we played Lake of Kalandra. Lake of Kalandra is shit. I don't like the mechanic, and on top it doesn't even give rewards, or basically almost no rewards, so it's better to just farm altars in T14 maps and make more profit. So why do I even play Lake of Kalandra? And this is probably the base conclusion that people had to say, like, you know what, I'll play this now for a week or 2 weeks, I don't like it, so let's wait for the next league, right? And yeah, nerfing a non-league mechanic for currency farming just means that it brings the other league mechanics or out of map mechanics maybe higher. But that's, as I said in the start, either you buff things to be in line with other things, or you nerf things to be in line. In the end of the day, they just want to try to achieve that we have a good experience farming the game. Whether if it's me farming maps all day long, if it's you farming like I don't know, blight maps, or hey, I'd like to spend 3 weeks straight in Delirium, or at least in the Simulacrum, then do so. I like the way that GGG wants to implement it, that every league mechanic or everything is like on par with each other, so it's really up to the player base that you can decide for yourself, what do I want to farm? What do I feel like? Hey, I farm Legion farm. I feel like Legion farming, so I want to do that, and I know that this is same or like, based on my playstyle, more fun for me, but it's still the same outcome as if I would grind boss rushing, or if I would farm light ravaged maps, you know? So that's the way I think. I think it's great that we are completely allowed to farm whatever brings fun to us, and still are not thinking like, I know, but I could farm so much more currency with this method, so I'm forced to play this method just to gain raw currency and stuff like that. But you guys get the idea. All right, let's wait for the Curse Manifesto, what they have in store for us the next time around. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you on the next video.